You know, the last couple videos I made, I actually said good things about the Overwatch dev team and Blizzard in general, and I even defended them a little bit. But of course, that was never going to last. As it turns out, it took about a week, which I think is a new record, but mind you, it's not a record for the fastest time Blizzard screwed up, oh no. It's a record for the longest time it ever took them to screw up, which is a week, which is, kind of bad when you think about it. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get any more beta invites after this video. Ah, well. What's up, guys? I'm BTC, and as you might have just guessed, Blizzard did a really dumb thing recently, and I know in the long line of dumb things that they do, it's a little difficult to kind of swim through all of it, so let me be a little more specific. They implemented a tool that is supposed to help with character creation in their games, most, again, notably with Overwatch 2 being kind of the main one that they're going to be using this for. And what this does is it gives points to different characters based upon superficial attributes. Now, the reason why they're doing this is because there are some very strange, weird, and just not very smart people in this world who are absolutely just completely obsessed with superficial attributes of characters in movies, TV shows, and games. To the point where they can only enjoy something if the character is an identical match for what they happen to be in the real world. This leads to the unbelievably stupid behavior of creating literal checklists where different superficial attributes need to be checked off in order for representation to be met and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, what happened was that Blizzard announced this tool that they're going to be using called the King's Diversity Space tool. And here's the thing, it's not even that it was accidentally leaked and that it's like, hey, this is something that Blizzard is using and they kind of don't want anybody to know about it because it's kind of a shameful and really dumb thing for them to do. Instead, they proudly announced it as if it wasn't a really stupid, dumb, and shameful thing for them to be using. So how it works is it will measure all of the different characters and it will assign them points based on what sort of attributes and superficial criteria they have for each of the characters. And yes, this system is just as cringe as it sounds. Here is an example with Ana, and you can see that there are a variety of superficial traits like culture, race, age, cognitive ability, body type, blah, 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 even socioeconomic background, because I know when I'm playing a video game about pew-pewing and, capturing points and stuff like that, it's really important that there is proper representation for socioeconomic background. But don't worry, it gets worse. On the bottom right-hand side, you can see more specific information about these categories, as well as a point system. And when you look at the point system, you can see a pattern. So for culture and race and whatnot, you see Egyptian Arab, she gets a lot of points for that, 7. But then for being intelligent, for being in shape, and for being straight, she gets 0 points. And that's because basically the system is entirely based on not being a straight white man. And the more you're not that, the more points you get. So you lose points for being white. You lose points for being male and, blah, blah, blah. All these different things, right? Imagine for a second if you had a system where you lost points for being black or Asian or Hispanic or disabled or any number of other things. The outrage would be instantaneous. The weirdos on social media would be absolutely just hitting the roof, saying, "Oh, it's hateful. It's wrong. You can't take away points for being those sorts of things." Except when you have a system that literally deducts points for just being white, that somehow is okay by Blizzard standards? No, that's wrong. Taking away points or giving points based on superficial attributes like all of the garbage here is just dumb to begin with. So I'm going to be very blunt right now. If you need the character in the game to look like you, to sound like you, and to have any number of different checkboxes that are the exact same as you in order for you to enjoy the game or to feel represented, the problem does not lie with the game not having those things. The problem lies with you requiring those things. The idea that some people are unable to have fun with a game or enjoy it to the fullest because there isn't a character that checks off all of the exact boxes as you on the superficial checklist is just dumb beyond comprehension. Whenever a developer is adding a character to a game, the first questions that they should ask is this character cool, and is it going to be fun to play? You can fill in all of the other details later because it's just superficial garbage that doesn't really matter. The thing that's important is it cool and is it fun to play? To further hammer this home, I want to quickly go through some of the hero concepts that I've made for Overwatch to prove that you can have cool and interesting character ideas without needing to have a literal superficial checklist. And the first one is going to be Vidal. This is one of my favorite characters that I ever made, and it comes from me just wanting to have Los Muertos as a playable character in the game, because I thought it was a really cool organization, and you have the glowing skeleton thing, and just Blizzard never did anything with it. Yeah, you have Sombra, but she's not even a member of that group anymore. She's in Talon, and she's kind of doing her own thing, and I wanted to have, like, a cool kind of skeleton guy in the game, and I came up with a healer called Vidal, and I wanted to have it be a little bit more supernatural related rather than having it just simply being, oh, well, you know, Los Muertos stole some biotic stuff from Overwatch or from whatever, right? Like, I didn't want to have that. That seemed a little boring. I wanted to have it be a little bit more supernatural. And since Zenyatta has, you know, kind of a supernatural thing to his healing, I figured it would be okay. So I started doing a little bit of research, and I found out that there are people in kind of Central America called Curandejo, which is basically like a kind of mix of a Christian and a shaman, and they can talk to spirits, and they use spirit power in order to heal people and this and that. And I thought that would be really cool, but remember, some of the spirits are evil, so what would happen if this good guy, who's like a healer and a Curandejo, and he somehow got kind of corrupted by the evil spirits, but he's still being pulled back by some of the good ones at the same time. And that's why you have the two different versions of Vidal. You have you have one form, which is where he heals others, and then you have the other form where he does damage and debuffs and that sort of thing. And I thought this was a really awesome concept, and this is one of my most popular hero concept ideas. Now, I didn't have a checklist or anything, and I didn't even know about the existence of the Curandejo before I even started making the character. I just kind of started with an idea, and it just led to one thing to another, to another, to another, and I ended up creating a character that I think is really cool, and a lot of people ended up liking. And this would actually get a pretty decent score on the, you know, the little stupid checklist thing that Blizzard has and that they're using right now, but I didn't have to use that in order to get the character. I just tried to create something cool, and I ended up with it. Another example is Marcus. I wanted to have a cool weapon master armorer type guy, and he essentially is a combination of a bunch of the different guys that I served with when I was in the army. And I was also stationed in Texas. I live there now, but I was stationed in Texas for a couple of years, and I actually met a bunch of guys that kind of act and have the personality of Marcus. So I basically took a whole bunch of them and kind of mushed them together, and that's what became of Marcus. I didn't need a checklist from this. I just kind of thought of something that I thought would be cool, and they just kind of ran with it. Another example is Quan. Now, Blizzard has their stupid body type category, and I'm sure someone sitting in a room somewhere would be, we need to increase the number of characters that are overweight in order to, you know, make certain... No, I didn't need to do any of that. You know what I thought of? I'm like, you know what? I want to have a fat Omnic. I want to have a fat Omnic that looks like Buddha and has a very outgoing, happy-go-lucky kind of personality. That's what I thought of. And I didn't need a checklist to do it. And I ended up coming up with Quan. And the way that I kind of explained why he has, like, that big body is because he was an Omnic that was designed to serve on cargo ships, and he moves around the big shipping containers. So he needed to have a larger frame so that he was stronger and more durable in order to deal with it. Another example is Bokeden, and where this partially started was when I saw something called an Odachi, which is a gigantic 7-foot two-handed katana, which looks really cool. Obviously, you can't have that on a DPS character, but I thought, hey, maybe we could put it on a tank character. And I started building up the character. I ended up naming him Bokeden Takeda, which is a combination of two real-world Japanese swordmasters named Bokeden Takahara and Shinjin Takeda. So I took both of their names and I kind of put them together to create this character. Again, this was all research that I did after I came up with the initial, hey, that's cool concept. And I also thought, well, you know, let's make him be a tiger. His rival clan can be based on the tiger because in Japanese mythos, the tiger and the dragon are kind of opposites and enemies. So you have Shimado, a dragon. You can have Bokeden's clan with being the tiger. And also, one of the characters that I named him after was known as the tiger. So this just makes sense, and all of that just kind of flowed from the initial cool idea of, man, that is a awesome looking 7-foot long two-handed katana. Let's make a character that uses that. Now, I do have a bunch more character concepts, both released and unreleased, but I don't think I need to go into any more of that because you guys probably get the point by now. And it's basically because I started with, hey, that's a cool idea, and then built around that. But what Blizzard is doing, especially with this new tool that they're going to be using, is they need to check off certain superficial boxes, and then they'll try to build the cool around that, and it doesn't work. If you start with the cool, interesting idea, then everything else will kind of work. But if you start by restricting yourself to like, well, we have to do this and this and this and this and this, then you're never going to end up with the cool, interesting character. You're just going to end up with a bunch of garbage that is pandering to a group of people on social media who mostly don't even play your game. And it's a dumb idea.
A big thanks to all the Paragons and other channel members for all your support. If you'd like to become one and grab some cool rewards, click the join button down below. And remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.